A very good morning to you all. Welcome to Sunrise Day today. I'm Chamberlain Uso.
Good morning and welcome. It's Monday morning. I'm Kayla Magwa. And you know, we always talk about how 24 hours is a little too small in Nigeria. Everything can happen in 24 hours. And then we have Aya as well joining us in Lagos. Morning, Aya.
Good morning. Welcome to the program. I'm Ayo Makinde. Well, something you guys haven't told us. How hot or cold is it in Abuja? In Lagos, it's 28 degrees right now, and it's has this likelihood of rising and falling in the course of the day. And of course, yes, Kayla, there is always a lot that is happening. The fact that it's holiday season doesn't mean things are not happening here and there. Right, Chamberlain?
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting to lots of people still on holiday, and why not? We don't begrudge any one of them, as a matter of fact. So go ahead, do your thing, enjoy. But it does appear as though January, which is just a few days away in this country, a lot of things will just begin to unfold. As we've seen, there are several indications. I mean, beyond the fact that, yes, the tax law is expected to kick on next month, just a few days, January. But then some scenarios which were worrying to a lot of people played out. That was yesterday, right, in Benin City. And so you would have thought, okay, there's several questions being raised about it. Don Pedro Baseki, many are familiar with him and the name. And so he was alleged to have said some things while he was in New York about the monarchy, the people of those states, which they eventually said did not go down well with the palace. And but he eventually gave his own account of what transpired.
Indeed.
How he was accosted by 7 people. He gave several names on those who accosted him. And he said they kidnapped him, actually.
Yes.
They attacked him when he went to play football. And then they said that he was dragged. I mean, he, given his own account, as we could see there,
all the way, and that he was stripped naked.
Yep.
You know, I mean, sometimes I think as a people we really we have to start thinking about how we handle things when we're upset. If you don't like what he said, you know, I'm not from Benin City, but I'm sure this must have been a very big deal to the youth in the place. How the greeting that he gave, whether it was God bless the Oba or God bless the people of Edo State, you know. But the idea that jungle justice, this is jungle justice. It's not something that should be condoned at all. A very sad situation there that happened over the weekend. And, you know, I'm sure it's unfolding. More perspectives. We're expecting the police to speak up on this. What's the palace going to say about this? Because apparently the young people said they did it based on how they feel about the Oba of Benin and, you know, basically acting as though they had his backing to do this, you know. So we're waiting to hear also from the Oba of Benin if this was something that he sanctioned. I don't think this is something that he would support at all. You know, very sad situation there from Edo State.
Well, you know, the thing about this is when you look back and you ask yourself, but we are in a constitutional democracy. And so if what he said offended certain people, I mean, the right thing to have done, which several people also do, if you feel aggrieved or maligned or defamed, you just go ahead and sue. I mean, the law says it clearly. Section 39 of the Constitution is very clear. You don't need to be a PhD candidate to understand this very simple, basic thing here, which says every person shall be entitled to freedom of expression, including freedom to hold opinions and to receive and impart ideas and information without interference. It is a democracy. That's why these laws exist. Not for people to take laws into their hands. So if he says he was kidnapped by persons who were brandishing guns and then it was taken to the palace because, according to him, the palace was not happy with him, they took him to the police station and wherein they then said the CP came there about 3 times, according to his own account, and he then says, look, he will be released pending clearance from the Oba. So why was he even detained for 5 hours at the police station in the first instance? What law did he break? And so several things, because, look, if those same youths who did this to him were apprehended or any one of them faced the police and police gave them this same kind of treatment, there will be a lot of hue and cry as to what have I done? Why have you done this to me? But here they are doing the same thing to some other persons.
I mean, that's a very
if they all begin to take laws into our hands,
yes.
Look, there will be anarchy all over the place.
Isn't that interesting that we always talk about brutality against us? Our rights are being subjugated. Oh, why are we being treated like this? Meanwhile, as a people, we treat fellow people the same way. It's a very shocking situation. I feel this is something I'm watching to see how this unfolds. I want to see where the Oba is going to stand, because young people, you know, need to be they need to be coordinated. You know, they need to be spoken to, and this situation here really calls to question the kind of mindset people have, especially when it comes to things that upset them. You know, I'm really looking forward to hearing what the police and what the Oba of Benin will have to say about this jungle justice that we saw over the weekend.
Well, it's interesting that, you know, this is the angle, you know, that everyone seems to be looking at that issue. But then, for a historian, there are some things that are just cardinal. Don't forget, ladies and gentlemen, that even in Oyo State, just Oyo State alone, there is still that, I don't know whether to call it a rift, a tiff, or whatever, you know, territorial authority between the Alaafin of Oyo and the Ooni of Ife, who has the right to make a pronunciation or make a proclamation that covers the entire Yoruba land. You know, someone gives a chieftaincy title for the whole of Yoruba land, another one gives a chieftaincy title for the whole of Yoruba land, and there is still that back and forth as to who has the authority to do what. Well, this is perhaps one of the challenges, you know, that we have to contend with when we really don't have some things documented. And perhaps it's about time that we as a people begin to see these things as a need. There needs to be documentation, because if this was written and known down through the ages, I'm not sure that you know, issue would still be as significant as it is. And by the way, talking about Oyo State, it would seem that the last hasn't been heard of of the media chat that Governor Makinde gave recently. And, you know, while he was saying, okay, this is how I made my money and all of that, there was a reaction, you know, from former Governor Ayo saying, look, he made all the right comments, but then he left out certain bits. I don't know whether we have heard, you know, the governor respond to what Mr. Fayose said, but then that is what it is. And one of the things that Mr. Fayose said, Chamberlain, is that statement that, you know, the governor of Oyo State, or the government of Oyo State, received 50 billion naira from the presidency to help with the explosions that took place in Ibadan, Bodija, Ibadan, and the environs recently, 50 billion naira. But Mr. Fayose's position is, why didn't he say that? Why was he talking about, okay, the political angle, and not talking about the intervention of the president? As I said, Chamberlain and Kayla, it would seem like it's just each day with its own drama.
Well, it turned out that I think it was the special advisor on media to the Oyo State governor is saying, look, the FG released 30 billion.
30 billion.
Not 50 billion.
Not 50.
But some billions, good billions.
And something about settling the people who were even going to release the 30 billion in the first place.
There you go.
I'm sure this is a story that we're going to follow up on. It's one that is back and forth for now. But what, like Ayo mentioned, is interesting that Ayo Fayose said, listen, I am Ayo Fayose. What I say is what I say. So
he's maintaining the 50 billion?
Yes, he's maintaining 50 billion. And not just the 50 billion. He's saying that only 4.5 billion. You remember that?
Yeah,
you remember that explosion that happened in Ibadan?
Yeah. So
he's saying that explosion, that he only released 4.5 billion and used the remaining money for his presidential campaign. That's what Ayo Fayose is alleging. The special advisor, like you said it was 30 billion. Whatever it is, we need to know where the money is. What was he used for? Accountability has to come into play on this particular matter, Chamberlain.
Yeah, because, I mean, now that we're entering into the realm of politicking, so a lot of this information will be out there. But the challenge will be, what will become of all of this at the end of the day? Will it be business as usual? Will you and I just watch things, just keep going on it? Because if we let things slide, they will do worse, because they feel that the people are okay, are happy with us.
Give them 2 weeks. They'll get over it. That's the mindset of many of them. Give the Nigerian people 2 weeks. They'll move on to something else. We have to stop being those people.
Oh, dear. All right, we'll still have some matters to highlight here. So just give us a moment. We will be back. Yeah, welcome back to Sunrise Today. As you've seen there, we've got Captain Biss Johnson here with us in the studios. He's former U.S. Army personnel and now national security and defense strategist. Good morning. Thank you for coming on today.
Good morning.
Well, still following up on that U.S. strike in Sokoto. So, yes, of course, then some of the narratives coming through from there is that certain persons' casualties, which is expected in that kind of scenario. But then there are those who also think, look, there's definitely a lot more to that strike than the authorities have let out at the moment. For instance, the motive, what is in it? So I did ask the minister, what is in it for the state? But let's get your general impression, first of all, about that strike. What did you make of it?
Well, I think for me, the strike was expected because when Donald Trump made that comment, you know, Donald Trump does not want to be seen as a president who is weak. You saw that in Syria when Assad used biological weapon and he had to take action. As against Barack Obama not taking action, and he's also a politician, so he has to also pad that to his base, particularly the evangelical Christians that propelled him to office in 2016 and 2024. So when he made that comment, on various networks, I told Nigerians to take it seriously because he's a man of ego. So even if there was no need for him to take action, but because of all these factors, he has to be seen to be doing something. So
yeah, but could he have done anything if Nigeria did not, quote unquote, cooperate with them?
He could have.
How?
Well, you see what is going on in the Caribbean Sea and the Pacific.
Isn't that different to our own case?
You may not necessarily. It's still the same international laws that is being talked about here. This is a different kind of administration, quite different from Donald Trump 1.0 in 2016, when he had all these bureaucrats and the professionals that surrounded him and were advising him on some of all these international laws and norms. It's quite different from this Trump 2.0, where he has all these kind of people, some of whom do not have, diplomatic, military, foreign affairs experiences. So they are doing things off the cuff. Let's shoot first, and then we ask questions later. And that is what you see going on in that. In the Caribbean Sea and the Pacific. So I wouldn't be surprised that similar thing could have also happened in Nigeria if Nigeria did not cooperate with him.
Why Sokoto, though? That's one of the biggest questions. Why do you think Sokoto was the place targeted?
Well, I can't tell you why they targeted Sokoto, but one thing I can tell you is that the military that I served for over a decade is not a military that operates without intelligence. All of our activities are intelligence-driven. And so I will, based on my experience, say that Sokoto might have been targeted because there were some intelligence that led to that. From the video that was released by the State Department of Defense, now Department of War, I saw the platform where those missiles were launched. And to me, it looked to me like what we call Alibok class guided missile destroyer that carries up anywhere between 300 to 330 sailors, depending on the mission, right? And the projectile that was fired seemed to me like it was a Tomahawk missile, which is about 1.3 million, between 1.3 million to 1.8 million dollars. So I don't think that Donald Trump or the United States taxpayers will just want to come there and just waste that kind of money. And from my understanding, I believe there were about a dozen of those missiles that were fired.
So
16. That was a ship.
The ship is a Alibok-class guided missile destroyer, DDG.
Okay. You know, the reason why I'm bringing that up is because a lot of people have been talking about, you know, how much insecurity we're dealing with. We just saw in Zamfara State, 7 people killed on Saturday. There was this explosion along the Magami-Dansandao highway in Maru local government area of Zamfara State. So when we're looking at insecurity in Nigeria, for some reason, we've focused on the places where a lot of these things happen. Zamfara being a hotspot, Borno, but not Sokoto, you know. But you of course, you've alluded to a lot of the things that people have been saying online as well, which is that there's intelligence, that there might be something going on over there. When it comes to this particular strike, another question people have is how many casualties? Who was killed? You know, where are the people who are the casualties of this particular strike and things like that? Is that something that we shouldn't know? Is that also part of the intelligence that should be kept away from us?
No, not at all. As a matter of fact, no war has ever been won without public support. You cannot win any conflict if you don't have the support of the citizens. And one of the ways of winning the support of the citizens is to be transparent and open in your dealings. I also agree with you. It's been enough days that had passed, and there had not been any after-barrel assessment report. The citizens need to know what was being targeted, who was there, and to what extent was that strike impactful. Because it doesn't make any sense that you just waste all this money, fire all those projectiles. At the end of the day, there were no impact.
So our government should be telling us that. Or who should be saying that?
Since it was a collaborative effort, we expect the report to come. I personally expect the report to come from both the U.S. and the Nigerian government. I don't know what asset the U.S. has on ground. I am thinking that maybe they are relying on over-the-horizon intelligence gathering and assessment.
No, the minister said that the Nigerian government gave them the intelligence.
I agree. I'm also thinking that they should also be relying on Nigerian, since it was a collaborative effort, that they also be relying on Nigerian assets on ground to update them with what has taken place at the targeted points. But knowing the U.S. that I know and the military that I know, that's why we say, you know, you have to trust, but also verify. So I doubt to what extent the U.S.
When the Nigerian government, when we have, it's not the first time that we're striking targets in Nigeria now. Over at least from the Ministry of Defense and from DHQ, every time there's even before we even know, first thing in the morning, you see airstrike kills so and so person,
exactly.
So they've been giving us this information. Why is this one different?
That is the question that everybody is asking. I'm also asking the same question. So I am thinking that it is the right time now. I gave them a pass because, you know, you had, it takes anywhere between 72 hours for you to be able to do those barrel assessment, barrel damage assessment, and be able to release the result. It's a war zone, if you may take it like that. It's not a jamboree for people to walk in and walk out. So you take a bit of time to go in there and do the assessment and issue the report. So I think it's enough time for that to have taken place.
Ayo has a few questions for you. Go ahead, Ayo.
Well, thank you, Kayla. Let's begin here, Captain. The fact that this is not the first time Nigeria is asking for support from foreign nationals, including the United States of America. How significant is that? Because there are some Nigerians who are wondering, is it that Nigeria cannot take care of its own challenges? After all, Nigeria intervened in our West African nation's issue at the request of that nation to intervene to ensure that, you know, a coup did not succeed. So if Nigeria had that capacity, how come Nigeria couldn't take care of itself? Or do you think it is something that is normal, you know, in the world for one country to ask, you know, for help from others for whatever good reason?
Well, there is nothing unusual asking for help from, you know, from your strategic partners. And let me say this. This is not the first time Nigeria and the U.S. has been collaborating, especially militarily. While I was in service, I do see some Nigerian military personnel come to several U.S. bases to train. You know, you can, of course, always identify a Nigeria by the name or the name tag on their uniforms. And so, and the U.S. has equally invested a lot of money in our security. So this is not the first time they are collaborating. However, this is a different time because of the statement that was made by Donald Trump. Well, but let me say this. No country exists in isolation. And militarily, every country do seek for one help or the other. You saw after 9/11 how George Bush was able to put together what he called coalition of the willing, which were some members of NATO countries coming to the aid of to join the United States to confront what George Bush then described as axis of evil. And so it's not unusual. Nigeria can't fight this alone. The U.S. does not fight its own fight alone. You will always have to cooperate with your strategic partners, either in terms of intelligence sharing or sometimes boots on the ground. So there's nothing unusual about that.
Well, how about the conflict of narratives, so to speak, from the two countries? Just as you said, it was the U.S. president that, made that statement that we're going to come into Nigeria guns a-blazing to defend Christians who are being killed incessantly. And then, of course, with the cooperation of the Nigerian government and all, what has happened on Christmas Day, and here we are talking about it. So, on the one hand, the Nigerian government is saying this is just purely security intervention. The other side is also saying, well, they cooperated with us or we collaborated with them, but our own objective is to take out those who are killing Christians. In a time when a good number of Nigerians are having doubts, the trust quotient between Nigerians and the Nigerian government is at quite a significant low. How significant is that conflict of narratives, so to speak?
Well, personally, I don't see any conflict of narrative between the U.S. and Nigeria in this particular instance. And the reason why I say this is because a lot of people are looking up to Donald Trump and what Donald Trump says. No, you don't look up to what Donald Trump says. Donald Trump is a politician. He's not a military professional or diplomatic professional. And Donald Trump has some local base. It's evangelical Christians that propelled him to power that he must satisfy. He wants to show them that, look, I told you I'm going to fight for Christianity anywhere in the world. I have started. I have gone to Nigeria. I told you I'll go to Nigeria. I've gone to Nigeria. I gave them Christmas gift. Everybody knows how Donald Trump talks. And so you shouldn't take that Donald Trump post or comment seriously. The people you must take that comment seriously is AFRICOM, the command that actually carried out this operation. They are the professionals. You saw their own statement that was released. That statement that was released was consistent with the statement that was released by Nigerian Ministry of Foreign Affairs and the Defense Headquarters. So these are the professionals, and these are the people that we must look up to, not Donald Trump, who is a politician and who must pander to his base.
One last question from me, Captain. Civilian communities remain vulnerable to insecurity, and they're usually caught between militant and military action. So how do we measure this? You said something important the other time, that no such campaign can be successful without the cooperation of the population, of the people. But the people are the ones that also, at the end of the day, sometimes suffer the consequences of all these things, especially when they are used as the shield, the human shield, against such attacks as we have seen. So how do we manage that such that the communities can see and trust government intervention over and above the fear of reprisals from militants?
Well, one thing I tell you is that they say if you remove a tick from a dog, you have to show the dog so that he knows that, look, a tick has been removed from his body. Well, the government has to be, they have to be transparent. We have to be able to manage our public communication much better, with the people. You have to speak to the people in the language that they understand. Because at the end of the day, whatever operation that is being carried out for the people and on behalf of the people. And so you said that they are on the receiving end. Of course, they are on the receiving end. And so that is why they must always be carried along. And like I alluded to before, I've said that no campaign is ever won without the support of the public, the population. We saw that when we were in Iraq. We only started winning when we were in Iraq, when we started engaging the Iraqi populations. They are the ones who provided us with human intelligence. I understand we have this highly sophisticated burst of intelligence collection apparatus. But at the end of the day, the most reliable human intelligence is that one that is provided by humans. And these are usually provided by the assets that are on ground. And that is why it is very important that whatever you do, you don't alienate the population that is involved. If you do that, you're going to lose at the end of the day.
When the government said that we provided the U.S. the intel for that strike, there were several questions, such part of which was, so if we had all that intel, why do you think we didn't carry out the strike ourselves?
Nigeria may have authenticated the intelligence because they had human asset on ground. Prior to that strike, there were publications that came up to say that the U.S. were already gathering over the horizon intelligence. They were flying some surveillance and reconnaissance aircraft around the area to gather intel. So when you get this kind of intel from over the horizon and you have asset on ground, you have to deploy that asset on ground to go and authenticate the intel that you gathered from the sky to make sure that they are consistent. If it's consistent, then you know that your intel is solid. Then you can strike. So what I am thinking, based on my own experience, is that the U.S. may have gathered intel over the horizon, and then Nigeria might have used on-the-ground human asset to authenticate the intelligence that the U.S. had gathered. And that's what I see as that collaboration.
No. What I'm saying is, because when we asked the minister, he said Nigeria gave this U.S. the intel with which they attacked in Sokoto. And so people thought, so if we had that intel, why didn't we carry out the strike? Don't forget that the U.S. president has said, look, if we don't do something, then maybe he will come in and then strike. So we could have said, okay, if you have the satellite, enable, let's verify or double check whatever intel we have. After all, we have the Tucano jets, don't we? So what stopped us?
See, we have to weigh the political angle to all these things that is happening. You understand?
Politics.
You see, the Nigerian government too also had to demonstrate that, look, we are willing and we want to collaborate with you. And this is what we can do. Okay. I was on this network that I said, look, this Donald Trump comment provided Nigeria with opportunity to be able to cooperate even much deeper with the United States, although we have been cooperating with them before this time. But this now availed us a much more opportunity. We shouldn't go to Washington, D.C. to argue with them, but we should rather go to Washington, D.C. and say, look, yes, we have a problem. We have insecurity problem. We have terrorism problem. Here are the things that we have done. These are our challenges. How can you come in and help us with these challenges? I am sure that the Nigerian government had gone there and had this conversation with the U.S. government, and therefore to prove to them that, look, we are open. We want to collaborate.
I know you've spoken about the politics. Does it make sense to you? I mean, you've served in the army. From that professional perspective,
yes.
Does it make sense to you that we have the intel, we have the Tucano jets, but we can't strike?
I don't think that they cannot strike, but I think...
We didn't.
But I think they wanted the U.S. to strike so that collaboration we manifest.
Well, I think it's also maybe because of the kind of narrative that was being pushed around at the time, as though the Nigerian government was complicit in the terrorism, in the killing of Christians.
But
so
they gave us opportunity to strike, or we come in and strike.
Yeah, so why didn't we do it before they came in?
If they had not allowed the U.S., if they had not collaborated with the U.S. and they strike on their own, maybe the U.S. may be doubting that, look, you didn't strike,
the right place. So let them do it.
You didn't strike where you're supposed to strike, or you didn't strike effectively. So the best thing for them to let the U.S. let them off the hook of the U.S., or to get the U.S. off their back, is to let the U.S. go in there and do the striking by themselves.
But you also know...
There is always politics in these things.
So, speaking about the politics in this matter, we know there's no free lunch in the States. They can't expend all that taxpayers, U.S. taxpayers' money for free on Nigeria. There's something definitely that they will benefit from this.
Well, I don't know what agreement was discussed, but like you said, there is no free lunch, and I have told you how expensive... Look, each one of those Tomahawk missiles is about $1.3 million. That is the list. It has various variants. Depending on the variants that were used, it can get up to $1.8 million, right? And that Alibok class guided missile destroyer carries about 300 to 330 sailors. Those sailors are like babies. They're children. The government is responsible for everything about them, including the shit that they even shit inside that vessel. Okay, so it cost a lot of money for them to have undertaken that operation. So I don't know, it's possible, and this...
There could be mineral S.
There could be. This president, President Trump, is a transactional president. He's a president that does not do anything that there is no benefit. So I will not be surprised that such conversations might have been had. However, I will support the U.S. to come into our mineral resources. It's been stolen. The Chinese are stealing this thing every day. And they are creating banditry and insecurity for us so as to divert our attention to the banditry and the insecurity while they are busy in connivance with some highly placed...
allegation.
It's not an allegation. It has been stated everywhere. It's been proven.
That has been stated doesn't make it true.
It is. It is. You see them being arrested. A couple of them have been arrested for illegal mining activities. And so what other evidence do we need? And they are creating insecurity for us, diverting our attention from our mineral resources with the banditry and the insecurity so that they will have a free way to exploit our mineral resources.
So I'm trying to understand the thinking process that you have. Okay, so let's assume that this, what you said, is being done. So the solution is for someone else to come and do it as well.
Well, someone who will come in with an agreement, a contract. Okay.
So this one has taken illegally. You want someone that does it with a deal.
No, when you have a situation where there is illicit activity, whether it's mining or bunkering, whatever it is, it always creates a lot of insecurity, because there will be different war laws that we want to control one territory or the other. And that is what we are seeing in northern Nigeria. So if we have an agreement with the U.S. to come and mine these minerals and bring sanity to that area and end the insecurity that we are facing, will it not be better for us?
Assuming they will bring sanity.
There will be sanity.
Where has this happened and there was sanity? Let's look around the world. The places where these agreements were made with them. Has there been any sanity in those places?
There is sanity in Korea. A lot of people always cite Afghanistan, Libya, Syria. It depends on what the mission is. Let us not forget that it was the United States that liberated all of Europe, World War I, World War II. And there was this Marshall Plan that rebuilt Europe that we see today. Let us not forget about Korea, that it was the United States that
that's different from what we're talking about, though.
No, it's not different, because people are only looking at Afghanistan, Iraq. It depends on your mission. People expect the United States to always go and carry out counter-insurgency operation in every country they go to. Counter-insurgency is different from counter-terrorism. The United States is not interested in counter-insurgency in some of these countries that you are talking about.
Many Nigerians do not agree with this. It's a very serious conversation going on online right now.
They don't understand the missions. They always interchange counter-terrorism with counter-insurgency.
It's a question of sovereignty. It's a question of Nigeria's sovereignty. So I'm going to ask you pointedly.
Yes.
Is there a danger that whatever deal has been cut in this matter, that our sovereignty may have been compromised in any way?
Your sovereignty cannot be compromised when the government says, look, we collaborated with these people to carry out this operation. The Minister of Defense said that the president gave his approval. If the president gave approval, it means that the U.S. had the permission of Nigeria to come out and carry out that operation. So the issue and the question of a sovereignty being violated shouldn't be there anymore, because they didn't come in there forcefully. They came in on the permission of the Nigerian government. So, but let me, there's something I need to clarify.
Okay.
You see, when we went to Iraq and Afghanistan, we were not supposed to go in there for counter-insurgency. Counter-insurgency means you bring in a lot of resources, a lot of manpower. You build nations, right? Counter-terrorism is different. Counter-terrorism is you go there, you conduct intelligence operations, you identify where the terrorists are, and then you strike. You go back. You have very limited footprint. Your job is not to go there and start building nations and start conducting elections. No, that is not the job. So the U.S. didn't have a counter-insurgency operation in Libya. What they had was to go in and stop Muammar Gaddafi from going to Benghazi to wipe out the entire city of Benghazi because they were opposed to his government.
And then what happened afterwards? It's never, it's ideal.
The rest is history.
Exactly, because it's on paper. You're correct, on paper.
Because
but in the reality, it doesn't always play out that way.
Because the mission was not to go and build Libya.
That was to destroy it.
Destroy it.
To stop Muammar Gaddafi from going to Benghazi and wiping out the entire population of Benghazi. Their action and activities saved Benghazi. Benghazi would have been eliminated by Muammar Gaddafi.
How is Benghazi today?
It exists. Muammar Gaddafi was preparing to go into Benghazi to wipe out Benghazi. Because that was
it
where
sounds like
that
is the U.S. military mindset in you speaking. Because we know they are not any better now.
That's all.
As a matter of fact, they are not anyway better.
But I'll tell you, U.S. mission was not to go and build Libya.
Well, we saw the outcome.
Yes.
So whatever the mission was, the outcome is what everybody
the road to hell
now.
is paved with good intentions.
And this particular, the Nigerian case is different because the Nigerian government is collaborating with the United States. And so it's a collaborative effort.
About what you said, concerning China coming to this country, stealing and doing all of those things, can that actually even happen without the governments looking the other way?
Our government over the years has been ineffective. And this is one of the reasons why the United States had to even come in the first place. You listen to what Donald Trump said, that if you don't take care of your problem, we'll come and take care of the problem for you. If we had been taking care of our problems, the way nations are supposed to take care of their problems, there will be no room for any foreigner to come here and exploit us. Well, because we have failed over the years. And I don't put the blame on this current administration. This is an administration that has only been in office for 2 years. I can tell you that Goodluck Jonathan's administration was a catastrophic disaster. Well, security-wise. So I can also tell you that Muhammadu Buhari's administration was also a disastrous catastrophe.
Well, living right now.
Security-wise.
So the thing about that is this. So rather than say, oh no, let the U.S. come in and then they will bring this, why don't you just focus on this government, do what you have to do. If they are stealing our resources, go ahead and stop them. Not for us to invite another country to come in when we can stop this thing from happening.
We need cooperation from our strategic
Before
partners.
the cooperation, what have we done to stop it in the first place? That's what we should be focusing on. We should be talking about us doing something.
Maybe you may have to bring in the Minister of Mineral Resources, to
come
and explain to you.
Of course they will explain, but I mean, I'm saying, look, why don't U.S. come in rather than China come in? When we can afford to say, okay, you know what? We have rules, we have laws here. Whoever is stealing, you can't do it here. How about that, first and foremost?
That is my preference as an individual. I am not speaking for the government of Nigeria. They may have a different intention, but this is my preference. I prefer a situation where there is orderliness in our mining sector as compared to what we have now, where criminals are illicitly mining our minerals and creating an insecurity upheaval for us that we have to contend with. Anywhere you have illicit mining of anything, the next thing that follows is insecurity, upheaval. And they are doing it in connivance with some highly placed people who are from this country.
And there's no guarantee that even if the U.S. comes in, that this won't continue. There's no telling. Nobody knows.
I have followed the U.S. When U.S. invest in a place, their companies come in there to stay. They will build infrastructure. They will hire people. They will patronize your local economy. That is not what we are seeing there. I don't know if you know about Halliburton, when Halliburton was in Port Harcourt. I don't know if you know about Webros. I don't know if you know about Chevron.
In terms of the allegations against former President Vice VP Dick Cheney, those allegations, the corruption allegations?
That's an isolated incident.
Why is it isolated? Didn't it happen?
No, there's corruption everywhere.
Should we gloss over that?
That is one incident that is not sufficient to wipe out all of the things that Halliburton did in Nigeria. So what I'm telling you, anytime U.S. invests, they bring in a lot of resources. In fact, if we allow U.S. government and companies to come into our mining sector and invest, that will be huge.
Well, China is bringing resources too, aren't they?
Their citizens are coming here. They are being arrested all over the country, right, for mining this stuff.
It doesn't mean they are not bringing
the U.S., first and foremost, in the U.S., there's a law prohibiting people from conducting this kind of illicit activities. So you not only be prosecuted in Nigeria, you also be prosecuted in the U.S. I doubt that such law exists in China. I think the Chinese people are just like vulture, just like every other developing country where they just go and get whatever they want. No, they don't care about what means that.
Is that a U.S. bias against China speaking?
No, I don't have any. If they had come in here and they had invested like the way they're supposed to invest, if they had brought in their companies and their companies come in and pumping money, build infrastructure.
But their companies are here. They are doing things here.
A few of them are doing the right thing. Majority of their citizens that are in this country are either doing cybercrime. I saw the other one that EFCC busted about 100 and something of them in Lagos. You know, they're doing cybercrime here, they are doing mining there, all kinds of stories, you know, that we're not supposed to be hearing. We have to be very serious about this. This is why we are having insecurity in that area, is because of the activities of, I'm not trying to say that every Chinese that is in this country is doing that, but to the extent that some of them are being arrested for one crime or the other, it does not tell good on China. And this is the same...
That happens in different countries.
All kinds of citizens.
After all, some Nigerians are arrested in different countries, but we know that there are several good Nigerians everywhere.
How many British is arrested? How many Americans have been arrested?
Well, that's
how
not
many
going
Dutch
to
people have been arrested?
how this country is
that
where
is
we are today because of those colonial activities. So if we begin to unfold that, that's a different conversation entirely. But the bottom line is,
I am telling you about today.
Stand up and
talking
fix
about
our
colonialism that ended how many years ago?
You think it's ended?
We just celebrated our independence.
You think that has ended?
So are you saying that the independence that we celebrate is nonsense?
That is dependence, not independence. Because if
that is you.
Our leaders travel to those countries.
We just recently celebrated our independence on October 1st. Are you saying that that independence we celebrated does not exist? That we are not independent?
Captain Bish, that independence is on paper. So if we begin to unfold certain things, you will know why our leaders travel to those countries.
I don't think the president of this country will accept this one that you're saying.
It doesn't matter what they accept or not. The views are the views. They can accept it. I'm entitled to my opinion. People are entitled to their opinions. Fact is fact. So opinion is free. Facts are sacred, as they say. But well, thank you. I mean, you know what they say about the... Let me not go to the bullet angle. But thank you for coming on. Always a pleasure to have you on, Captain Bish Johnson. We will be back in a moment and talk about politics, which you referenced in just a moment. So stay on with us.
The Minister of the Federal Capital Territory, Wike, is in Emohua to engage with his political supporters as part of ongoing consultations across Rivers State. He is received by the chairman of Emohua local government area, Chidi Lloyd, alongside the traditional ruler and other party leaders and stakeholders. Addressing the gathering, the council chairman reaffirms the community's unwavering support for President Tinubu and the FCT minister, saying Emohua is already in the bag.
I just want to tell you that we appreciate you and that as grateful people, we will continue to follow you. Because you have not misled us. How else will we thank a man who is as selfless as you than to stand with you? Because you stand for equity, you stand for justice, and you stand for fairness.
In his remarks, Mr. Wike tells supporters that the Ikwere people must remain politically relevant and should never allow themselves be sidelined in national politics.
For Tinubu to resist every temptation against an Ikwere man to be Minister of FCT. When people do not want it, he said no. Let's try it on another person. And today is Ikwere man. What do we do? Is to tell him, Mr. President, you have done well. Thank you.
He further cautions that merely professing loyalty to President Tinubu does not automatically guarantee a second-term ticket for any sitting governor, insisting that political agreements must be respected and clearly defined.
Anybody who wants to be governor of the state, if you like, say it on your mandate. No. Agreement is what? Agreement is what? If you know.
Agreement is agreement, yo. Agreement is agreement, yo. We don't need to call settlement. You can't tell me nonsense. Agreement is agreement. Agreement is agreement, yo. Agreement is agreement, yo. We don't need to call settlement. You can't tell me nonsense. Agreement is agreement, yo.
From Emohua, the minister moves to Siopo in Ikwere local government area, where he delivers a similar message. There, a former council chairman pledges the council's support, dismissing suggestions that the African Democratic Congress could gain political ground in the area.
Excellency, go home and sleep, you and your entourage. We will never fail you. Forget about those who stay in Abuja and make noise. Excellency, they don't have home at home, that's why they can't come back.
They will do their ADC in Mitama and Asokoro.
With these engagements, the minister's visit appears aimed at consolidating his political base in Ikwere land, even as signals from his remarks suggest that River State politics may be heading into another defining phase in the months ahead.
All right, welcome back. Dr. Chidi Lloyd joins us now. So we're not talking the lecturer part of him. It's a political angle. He's the chairman of Moha local government. He joins us virtually. Good morning, Dr. Chidi Lloyd. Thank you for joining us on the program today. We do hope that you can hear us, even though we can see you. So talk to us. Can you hear us clearly now? Dr. Chidi Lloyd, can you hear us? Okay, good morning. Well, some developments coming through about the FCT minister's statement, which is circulating. I don't, maybe in context or out of context, but there are several persons who think, wait a minute, is the FCT minister saying to the River State governor that you can't be an emergency singer on your mandate will stand? It doesn't guarantee you automatic tickets within that party. So already there are those who are reading meaning into that comment. But could you give us a background? What's the context of that statement? Those who are reading meaning into that comment.
On channels. I'd like to congratulate you for coming back.
Thank you.
I wish it was the FCT minister that you have on the program. But what I know as a politician is that choruses don't guarantee you electoral victory. Electoral victory is based on the things you do and not the choruses you sing. So I think that is what the FCT minister means. Electoral victory or second tenure is guaranteed by the work you do for the people, how happy your electorates are. So that is what will guarantee you any electoral victory, and not the verses or choruses, either from sacred songs of solo or from the hymn book. That is not what guarantees electoral victory. To my understanding, that is what the FCT minister means. And that is what any politician will tell you, that it is the work you do that will guarantee you electoral victory.
But I mean, politically, I know that you people know that, yes, you have to do some job of work to convince the people, but they also know that for a governor to leave his party and join the ruling party, as we've seen many governors do, and who knows, many more may, the assumption is usually they are promised several things. Number one, yes, you'll be the leader of your party in the state. Yes, we'll guarantee you the ticket. And then you may even have an opportunity to nominate maybe a minister, depending on the kind of agreements they have. And most times we've seen that when that happens, the governors end up coming back. So when he makes this statement, people automatically think, or they assume that, wait a minute, is he going against the leadership of the APC, who must have spoken with the governor before he joins them?
Well, Chamberlain, your question is very apt, but unfortunately, I am unable to provide any answer to your question, because I have neither been a governor or a party leader at the level of making promises. If I were in any of those meetings, I would have been able to tell you what we promised the governor of Rivers State or any other governor in his position. Because I have not attended any of such meetings, it will be difficult for me to begin to assume using a channel as credible as your media, as your own station. So I'm unable to do that. I don't know what the leadership of the All Progressive Congress, which I'm a member, may have promised anybody at that level. I can only talk of things that I am privy to, because I thought your questions would have dwelt largely on the reception of the political leader of Rivers State by Emo.
Dr. Lloyd, you're being political with me. Why will I be asking that when we've seen they would always give me a good reception?
The reception, the clips I saw was where I was welcoming my leader and political mentor.
There's nothing to ask there. Of course, you give me a good welcome.
Absolutely.
So, what are you privy to about that meeting before the Rivers State governor joined the APC? What can you tell us?
No. Chamberlain, you know me very well that I will not discuss this. I have no facts. I thought you were going to ask me the level of mobilization of our people and how our people feel about the minister of the FCT, and not to take me into the arena that I have no clue about.
Okay, so can we then, can we say that the governor then, I mean, being 0001, is the leader of the APC in Rivers State now?
No, Chamberlain, don't confuse that 0001. My wife, Mrs. Chidi Lloyd, is 0001 in my unit in Apabu, where we vote, because my wife comes first. She stood in front of me and she was registered as 0001. So in Rivers State, we have as many 001s as we have units.
Okay, Dr. Lloyd, we will find time and bring you back, because we didn't talk about that song. If you follow Tinubu, not follow Kona, Fubara, they tell you something, because, I mean, that also had some implications. People are interpreting it different ways, but we'll find time and have you back. I mean, we didn't have enough time to even scratch the surface here, but we do appreciate your time this morning. Dr. Chidi Lloyd is the chairman, Emoha local government area in Rivers State. So there you go, guys. That wraps it up this morning on the program.
I know.
I can't believe you said that. I should ask him about the reception, of course. Maybe I'll ask you about the reception he plans to get when he goes to Ibadan.
Wait, before we wrap up, it's important that we share this breaking news with you. Remember, 2 years ago in 2023, Professor Ekanem Philip Ephraim she's a neurologist. World-renowned neurologist, and some gunmen who were posing as patients showed up at the hospital, kidnapped her, and killed her. She was killed in July of 2023. Well, the breaking news that we have is that the DSS have arrested Patrick Etim and Basi Asukwo, and they were arrested on the 27th of December, I think that was just yesterday. Arrested while they were trying to kidnap another medical bigwig.
Oh dear.
So that's the breaking story, and I think that's something that we're following up.
So that's the way the law should work. Yeah. If you do the crime, you should do the time. It doesn't matter how long it is. The law should always catch up with the people. So we do hope that we'll see a lot more of all of these things. Well, thank you all for watching. We'll see you next time. I'm Chamberlain Osok. Goodbye.
I'm Kayla Magwa. Have a great week ahead.
And I'm Ayo Makinde. Enjoy the rest of the season.